Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Higher Moment Mastermind, your Friday encouragement section for your job search. We are delighted to have you here. My name is Shira Lotzar, host of our meeting. I am a association recruiter. I'm a higher purpose champion. I love helping job seekers marry up their job search with their purpose and passion, and I love helping folks rewrite their resumes and LinkedIn profiles and improve their networking strategies and all that good stuff. And I'm also a co-founder and volunteer of boomerworks.org. We are a volunteer organization that helps professionals age 50 plus to re-career into self-employment. We offer free programs twice monthly. Check us out. Today, we have our guest experts, Michelle Wright, who is an executive recruiter in accounting and finance, Corliss Jackson, who's a career coach and helps folks get into the federal government, KiKi L'italien, who's an expert in all things video and zooming and background imaging, Vern Schellenger, who's a career coach, and his specialty is networking and relationship building. Rick Webb isn't able to join us today, but we have Jo Weech, who works with Rick, who is an HR and recruiting executive in the government contracting sector. So today, for those of you who have never been with us before, here is our format. We are going to start with a 10-minute breakout group. And in that breakout group, what you're going to do is you're going to identify your group's top question or questions. You want to assign a scribe, and that person will capture all of the questions. And then when you come back into the main room, not during your chat time, not during your breakout, but when you're back in the main room, have your scribe post all the questions in the chat so that we can all see them. You can also share some best practices from your job search if you like, and please make sure that people have equal time to share. So you don't have to like police it too much, but just make sure that there's kind of equal timing. Next, we're going to go into a group discussion, and during that time, please remain muted when you're in the main room, and please just post your questions in the chat so that all of the experts can have time to answer your questions. If there are any unanswered questions, because sometimes we run out of time, please feel free to email me directly, and either I or I'll have one of our facilitators answer your questions. Now, normally at 10:05, we do a 10-minute speed networking breakout session. We are going to try something new today. So as you're thinking today, I want you to, preparing for that time, I want you to think of the following. What we're going to do is we're going to go around, the Hollywood squares of Zoom, right? We're going to stay in the main room, and each person is going to have, ready? 10 seconds, just 10, not 30, 10, to very quickly state what you do. So you're going to state either your lane, meaning your profession. So I'm an accountant, or I'm seeking a CFO position, or I'm seeking a marketing position, or what have you. And if you have a community, meaning an industry or a sector that you work for. So I'm an accountant in the nonprofit sector. I'm an HR professional in the Fortune 500 sector, that kind of thing. You don't have to state your community, but you could. And we're going to go boom, 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 all the way around the room. And hopefully that we'll be able to cover that in about 10 or 15 minutes, because there are usually 30 or 40 people on the call. So we're going to try it, see how it works. And then after the event, feel free to keep in touch with our Power Networking spreadsheet. The recording of the Q&A will be posted here on my website at this link. And then we have a job search resources page that I continually add to now. So if you have articles, tips, books, apps, whatever that you'd like to share, feel free to email that to me. And KiKi is going to put in the chat box these 3 links, right? So you can have access to them. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into our first breakout session. And remember, this is the time for you to share your questions so that we can have a group discussion at the end. So give me just a moment here, and I will put everybody in a ring. All right, so go ahead and hit the blue join button, and we'll see you back here in 10 minutes. Hey, Steve, we are in breakout rooms right now, so you should see a blue join button. Hey, Monica. You should have a. I'm gonna move you into a breakout room. We're in
Okay,
the.
sorry, I had trouble accessing. I apologize
No
for
worries.
being late.
All good. All good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Do I hit join?
Yep. Just hit join. Hey, Kelly. You should have a blue a join button somewhere.
Not yet.
Maybe it should. All right. Let me move you out to somewhere else.
Okay. I got it. Thanks.
Uh-huh.
Bye for now.
Hey, Ruth. We're in breakout sessions right now. I just gave you a room. By the way, Ruth, you've been on mute. I can't hear you.
I had a technical glitch. I could not get into the meeting. So anyway, I'm here now. Thank you.
Sure. Did you see your join button?
Yep, I did.
Okay. Okay, everyone, I'm glad, hope that you had a good networking session there. Before we start going into our open Q&A, there are a couple things I'm going to put in the chat here, hopefully some helpful items. So I recently came across a really interesting app, and it has to do with boosting your LinkedIn headline visibility. So it's this one pager, and you just put in your LinkedIn headline, and it'll actually score you. There's an algorithm that will score you on how engaging your LinkedIn headline is. So that's going to be in the chat. And the other thing is that there's a local, a virtual expo for 50 plus professionals hosted by an organization called JCA, and that's going to be on March 23rd. I happen to be presenting at it on building your career brand. So do invite you to check out both of those things. And before we get going here on the Q&As, I did have an advanced question. And by the way, if you were the scribe for your meeting, this is the time to put all that into the chat. So I had a question that came up in advance, and I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm going to try to address it, and then I'll open it up to our experts. And the question is this: there are 2 positions for which I applied that were advertised on LinkedIn by a headhunter. In the last 2 days, they were reposted as if they were new jobs. So do I reapply or call them? I emailed one of them through LinkedIn and got no response, or is this just a glitch in LinkedIn? I'm going to go ahead and tackle this real quick. First of all, it could be for different reasons. If they reposted, the likelihood is that they just did not find who they were looking for in the beginning, right? Or they found a crop of candidates, but LinkedIn has a 30-day posting period, and so they could just be reposting it because, hey, they just want new candidates. In terms of what to do, and this is not just if the job is posted on LinkedIn, this is a kind of a general, if you see a job posting, repost it. This happens all the time, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this. What do you do? Well, understand this, that there are all kinds of reasons why you may not have been selected. First of all, they may not have seen you. Like you could have gone into the black hole of their applicant tracking system. It could be that they kind of did the quick scan and they didn't quickly see what they were looking for. There are all kinds of reasons. So the bottom line is, yes, you can reapply. Bottom line, yes, you can reapply. In fact, I'd actually say you should reapply. However, do not reapply with the same resume, because it very well may be that the first time they looked at you, they didn't see what they needed to see. It could be that the keywords that they were looking for were not right at the top of your resume. It might be that the cover letter that you sent in was not as customized. And we say this like we say this like robots every single week. You must customize your resume and your cover letter for absolutely every position, bar none. I know it's laborious, which is another reason why you only want to be applying to the jobs that you really think you have a shot at, not the ones where you just sort of casually scan and say, oh, bullet number 5, that's my job. No, you have to really read this. Is this the kind of opportunity that if a recruiter looked at you, they would be attracted to you? You've got to walk a mile in the recruiter's shoes. Under what conditions would somebody be attracted to me? Not am I just attracted to them and I think I can do the job, but am I in a position with my background to minimize the employer's risk in their hire? They can only choose one person. The recruiter's job is to screen you out, not in. So under what conditions can you recreate your cover letter and your resume to make sure that you are most appealing? In terms of reaching out to the employer directly, I mean, you can, but understand these folks have got dozens and hundreds of resumes. So the likelihood is that they're not going to respond back to you. You're not going to hear, kind of that one-off, hey, we received your resume, or hey, we're not interested. It's just sometimes overwhelming for recruiters to respond back to each person, but you can certainly reapply. And the last thing is, again, we say this every single week, go find an internal champion. Hugely important. Pop that organization into LinkedIn in the search bar. Hit enter. You'll see the LinkedIn profile of that organization. See if you can find in the people bot, clicking on the number of employees that they have, see if you can find somebody who can get you noticed. So you go after the hiring manager, if you can find out that person's name and title. Go after the HR person or the recruiter. If that person's a second level to you, you'll have at least one mutual connection, maybe more. Look at that list. Anybody that you feel decently connected to, ask if that person can get you extra consideration. Write them offline and say, hey, I applied to such and such position. I noticed you're connected to John Smith, hiring manager. I recently applied. Here's my application. Would you consider forwarding it to John, again, for extra consideration? So That's kind of, we say this all the time, but bears repeating because we always have new people on this call. So for the record, that's how you want to handle it. So I know I've spoken for a while, but any of my other experts want to chime in here and any other tips, Michelle or Vern?
Sure, I'll just say it's competition, and there's lots of people competing for the same job. So
That's right. Do what you can to stand out.
Yeah.
Yep. And remember that 80% of the jobs are hidden from the market. 80% of jobs are hidden from the, meaning you're not going to find them on the job boards. This is why networking. You need to be top of mind in other people's network, because those employers are tapping their private networks to find you. And you've got to be network within the community with which you work, so that other people can say, well, the job's not right for me, but it's right for John. It's right for Mary. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and start our first questions. KiKi, do you want to kick us off with the chat box?
Sure thing. So here we have in the chat another really popular question we hear about all the time, and that's the subject of ageism. We would love to hear the panel's thoughts about ageism toward the end of the process, particularly in the second round and on interviews and onward. What tips do you have?
Great. I could answer that, but I'm gonna get off the mic here. So Vern, do you want to take that first?
Well, if you've got to the second round of interviews, then it's been, you're moving closer to the final goal. And again, and this came from the group that I was in. One of the things that came up there was making sure, in fact, this was a tag-on question to that, making sure that you're communicating in most jobs today your ability with either social media or technology. And if you haven't done that, should I take some courses in it? And I would say yes, you need to be as up to speed as you can in that arena. The other thing I would say is be aware of your language as you're the actual words you're using when you're communicating in the interview. And if there is something challenging, be ready to have a story about how quickly you can learn things. Those are a few things off the top of my head.
Yeah. And one of the things too that employers are concerned about, but they don't often say it, but they're thinking it, if you are, quote, of a certain age, is how many years do you have left to work? It just comes,
Yeah.
they're thinking it, they're not saying it. And it's not something that you necessarily need to address per se, okay, not to overemphasize the ageism issue. However, what you are trying to indicate is that you have energy and enthusiasm and passion and commitment to do this work. And that you can and should say in any which way you can, so that people know that you are in it to win it, right? You are in it for whatever the long haul looks like. And look, nobody stays in jobs for 25 years anymore, at least if you start a job now. People know that there's going to be turnover. So you don't have to address it per se, but you need to give the implication that you are committed and you're here for, a good length of time. Okay. All right. So let's go on to the next question, KiKi.
All right. So I was trying to actually get prepared for this question because I feel like I might be able to help answer it. Related to the ageism question, do you have suggestions for social media training, places where we can go to learn new technologies and show our relevance and that we're staying up to date?
Go for it, KiKi.
All right. So I started out with, there are some obvious places you can go online. There are amazing resources. Dr. Google is amazing, but LinkedIn classes are out there. They're really, really good, solid classes that if you're on LinkedIn, you can access those. Udemy has classes. Coursera. I love Coursera, and sometimes you can get certifications from that. So you want to look and see what they have available. But also Shira and I also sometimes offer courses too, periodically, on and off. So those are some areas that you can look as well. Shira, do you have additional ideas for people?
I think yours were great. I think yours.
All right.
If there's anything you want to put in the chat box, KiKi, to help people follow up.
Okay, I will do that. But first, let's go on to the next question. And that is, if you are in a niche area and not getting a job or leads, how do you go about rebranding? What do you do when your LinkedIn may not match a niche job?
It's a great question. I actually want to answer it, excuse me, in a little bit of a different way. and answer it this way. So people in general, people, employers, right? Anybody who's looking to engage with somebody else, they tend to like to hire specialists, not generalists. All right, think of it, if you had a leaky faucet, you're gonna call the plumber, not the general handyman. So being niche is actually not a bad thing. It can actually be a very good thing. However, that only means that a certain limited number of people are looking for you, which means that not only do you want to focus your branding to make sure that people know, hey, I have this niche, I have this superpower, I'm in a unique position to solve these kinds of problems in these kinds of ways. You want to make sure that you are tapping your network for people who are in that niche. So one of the ways you may want to think about it is kind of like, you know, a family member concept, right? You got your twins, you got your siblings, you got your first cousins, you got your second cousins. Your twins are going to be people who do what you do. Do what you do. Even in that niche. If you have a niche area, that means at least one other person in the world does it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be something that anybody would need. There's got to be somebody out there who does what you do. Now, of course, it's not going to probably just be one person. It'll probably be a community of people. And LinkedIn is a fabulous way to find those people, even if it's not in your local region. And may I just say, for the record, since this is March 2021, okay, I would not have said this a year ago, but I'm going to say it today. And I think those in HR can back me up on this. Because of COVID, many employers have now expanded their mindset to recruit people outside of their local region, because they have realized that actually not only is productivity not decreased because of COVID and working from home, it's actually increased. In fact, to a hyper extent, unfortunately, it's caused people a lot of stress. So as a result, employers are opening up their mindset and saying, why have I been just limiting myself to the DC region, for example? I know a lot of you are here in DC. Why can't I just open up to the rest of the country? And yes, there's some tax implications, but pretty much people can get over that. Same thing with you. You don't necessarily need to be looking in your local region. You can be opening your mindset to other people. So that's a backdoor way of addressing this niche question, because your niche people may be somewhere else in the country. And normally you would not have thought about looking in California, but guess what? That person could be a fabulous networker for you, because there could be opportunities in California for you to work remotely from DC. And that's a perfectly acceptable thing right now. This is a very modern kind of a tip that I'm giving you. You can expand your mindset. So that would be my kind of interesting twist on that question.
Shira, a follow-up to that, because that came from our group, was, and I think I've got this right, looking in my niche and I don't see any opportunities. In other words, it's an area that seems to be, you know, the jobs, they just aren't there. And
Got it. So yeah, so that's a whole other kind of
different, that's a different
for
question.
example, let's say you're in hospitality, right? And that industry's been disrupted. Obviously it's a longer answer than probably I have time for, but what I would suggest is going along that sibling first cousin kind of concept. So think about, just from your job search perspective, think about going to your, what I'll call your first cousin related work. So as a quick example might be, obviously folks in the meeting planning industry have been disrupted, meaning people who physically have done meeting planning with hotels, venues, contracts, all of that stuff. Some of those folks have been upskilling to become what's called a digital event planner, okay? And so it's still event planning, but it's now using your skills in the digital world. And that would, to me, would be like a first cousin kind of a thing. So there are ways that you can think of expanding your niche out. What is the next type of role that's just related to what you do, that's more popular? That's something you can go to, because remember, employers are trying to minimize their risk. So if you're trying to do a whole 180-degree career pivot, yes, it's possible, but it is difficult because employers think that you're too much of a risk. So if you can get closer to what you used to do and just expand it out a little bit and repurpose your skills, rebrand yourself in your LinkedIn to highlight those other skills that are related, that can be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, KiKi?
All right. So after a panel interview, is it common or uncommon for the organization to make a job offer without a second interview?
Absolutely. People do these things all the time. In fact, I don't know if this person's thinking about federal government, but Corliss. I know Corliss, actually, do you want to talk about the federal government side of things, and then we can bounce back to the private sector?
Yeah, so the government does things the way they want to do them, but they're very particular about trying to hire the right person. And I don't mean that the corporate sector doesn't, but they will interview you with a panel of 3 to 6 people, and they may interview you 3 to 4 times just to make sure that they're getting the right candidate. So sometimes they'll interview you once, but normally you'll have 2 interviews and you're kind of going up the food chain for approvals.
Yeah.
So.
And in the private sector, again, it can be all kinds of ways, and there's no exact rhyme or reason to it. Everybody does it differently. Sometimes people do HR first, and then the hiring manager, and then a panel, or they go to the panel first, and then they go to the hiring manager. It's lots of different ways, but yes, it is certainly possible to have kind of what I'll call one and done. It just depends on the organization. Yeah, a lot of different ways to do it. All right, KiKi.
All right. What is a safe response to what type of supervisor do you work well with?
That's a great question. I'll punt it to somebody else. Jo, do you want to take this one?
Sure thing. I think that it's really important to say that I always say, oh, well, my spirit animal is a chameleon, and I have learned how to adapt to many different leadership styles. And there's always a way to find the ability to collaborate with people depending on their backgrounds.
That's a good answer, Jo. Michelle, do you want to try this one?
Yeah, I mean, kind of similar to what Jo said. I think obviously at the end of the day, you don't want to offend anyone. You don't really know, the interviewer style quite, or you might not know quite yet. So, I think just try to find examples or refer to your ability to work with different personalities, different styles, and different approaches. And if you can bring specific examples, like 1 or 2, that can help.
That's a great tip. Yeah. So be
Sure.
thinking back over all of the supervisors you've had in your life, right? And I'm sure you've worked with different personalities. Hey, here's a case study. Here's a case study. Here's a case study, so they can see that you can banter. Vern?
No, that's what I was going to say. I said, give examples of it. I've worked with somebody who was this way. I worked with somebody who was that way. And in every one of those jobs, I was successful in meeting the objectives and the goals of the job.
Great. Okay. KiKi?
All right. So this is a very specific question, and I want to make sure that we can answer it in a way that helps everyone, but also helps this person. So the question is this: how would you recommend designing your LinkedIn page so that it appeals to many different employers, not just in one specific area? I know we're always trying to customize things like cover letters and resumes, but when it comes to the LinkedIn profile, what's the best way to optimize it for as many employers as we can?
Yeah, of course, that's a niche question, right? It's kind of it depends. The way that I because I actually do write LinkedIn profiles for people, and I have a lot of clients who have this very struggle, right? Well, I can do this and that, and they don't want to limit themselves. At the same time, of course, as I mentioned earlier, employers like to minimize their risk, right? So they want to know your superpowers. They want to know the ways in which you can specifically help them. So what do you do? It's what I call creating, and this is going to sound odd, but it'll make sense in a second, what I call a broadly narrow brand. What in the world is that? Broadly narrow. Narrow in the sense that it has some definition, broad in the sense that it has some elasticity. So I'll just give you a very quick example for myself. So as some of you may know, I do multiple things in the world. I'm a career coach, but I'm also a recruiter. And in my recruiting world, I recruit mostly for associations, I'll just say associations. Now, for those of you who are in the association world, there are lots of different kinds of associations. There's trade associations, professional societies, medical societies. There's all these different things. So in my world, in my case, I say I do association recruiting or association search. I don't specifically niche it and say I do this one versus that one, because I want to have some elasticity, because I can do all of them. So what I did was, and what I encourage you guys to do, is find your common denominator. Find your common denominator. What is it? Maybe it's your sector, right? Your industry. Maybe you're in public health. Now I've realized public health means a lot of different things, a lot of people, but it's got some definition. So if you have a sector, you can say that you are in the public health sector. Underneath that, you can have what I call your multiple lanes, or think of it as a highway. So your highway is right 395, right? So 395 is, you're going to call that the public health, right, highway. But there are multiple lanes within that highway, and maybe there are certain kinds of lanes, certain kinds of career fields you have had that have been expansive within that highway. And that's how you'd want to brand your LinkedIn. So you have a common denominator that wraps the whole thing around with a red bow at the top, and then you can specialize down. And these are the different kinds of roles that I have been able to successfully, been in that will achieve the goals of that industry. So that's one way to handle it. So any other thoughts from the peanut gallery from my facilitators?
No, I think that's a good answer, Shira. Yeah.
All right, KiKi.
Okay. So there is a follow-up question that has to do with, will that work with different levels? There was another question in the chat that had to do with LinkedIn. If you're interested in 2 different job levels, but you don't want to appear overqualified for one or underqualified for another.
Yeah, again, I'm just going to go harken back to this kind of broad narrowness. And again, so it depends, right? I don't know the person's direct situation, but you want to. So for example, let's say you're in marketing, okay, and you're appropriate for the VP level and the director level and what have you. So you don't necessarily want to place the level in there, but you can just talk about yourself as a seasoned marketing professional, right? Or a marketing leader, that kind of thing. So try to be a little generic about the level while you're focusing on your skill set, you're focusing on your superpowers, what you can do, so that people don't artificially pigeonhole you into this level versus that level. They're looking more at your capabilities. Then as you apply for a role, hey, it could be director, it could be VP, what have you, and you can sort of mold yourself a little bit, more into that role.
All right, excellent. So what are the best questions to ask an internal recruiter during networking or informational interview?
That's a great question. We've got at least a couple of those on our call. Michelle, do you want to? Oh, that's right. Michelle, you're a headhunter. Joe, do you want to take that one?
I'm sorry. Could you just repeat the question for me, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So what are the best questions to ask an internal recruiter during a networking or informational interview?
Okay, I think that that one thing that some other recruiters have recommended is saying, okay, on your worst day, why do you still stay at your company?
Mm.
Just to kind of, and that usually throws them off guard, but then they have to think about that, right? Because we're always asked, as a candidate, for our motivation. So we would want to know, what their motivations would be. And then also to just say, so what sorts of persons have been hired recently? Like, is there a common thread in the type of alignment with your mission, vision, values? Because again, it's not enough just to have, the experience and the skills. People want to know that you would be aligned with their mission. And then I think a third thing that I always like to be asked is, so in, within, if it's just an informational one, what sort of roles do you have or do you see coming up, in this year or whatever, that are in your accounting department or in your IT department or whatever department, and what would be the best thing to do to be able to poise myself to be a competitive candidate for one of those roles?
You could also add to that, are there any core competencies that you're always looking for when you're doing your hiring?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Even a general question, if I really wanted to work for your company, what advice do you have for me in terms of skills or again, as Joe said, the type of person that succeeds within your company? Yeah.
Great question. Great answers. Thanks. KiKi?
All right. So this actually, I think, is perfect for Corliss. And so I saw this over in the chat. And Joe actually asked this of Corliss. That's how I know it's perfect for her. And it's, how can you find jobs in different agencies and federal government that are similar to what you're doing in your respective agency?
So I'm not really sure of the question, but
for someone that was in our group, so they work in one agency and they're trying to figure out how to find similar roles to what they do in one agency in all of the other agencies? I know that there's that 4-digit code, you know, that usually applies, but I thought you would probably be able to better answer that.
Yeah, I mean, if the person is already a federal employee, they should use one of the federal websites, USA Jobs, or on my website, which is Fed Job Results, there's a list of agencies that don't advertise on USA Jobs because they don't have to. There's about 35 of them, and it's under a heading called Federal Resources, and I'll put that in the chat in a moment. But really what you're looking for is that 4-digit job code, that job series number, Joe, or you can search by keyword, but I recommend you do your search by number, because now the HR number and your number is matching up, and you're not missing out on things because you have a different title in mind. I thought your question was about another website which might be of interest. There's a website called usaspending.gov, which actually is a website that tracks federal government contracts. So if you know where the contract was awarded, you can go to that company and see what jobs they're actually hiring for in the corporate sector.
So, and I'm so glad you said that, because I figured we were heading in that direction, and I put the resource that you posted earlier back over in the chat for everyone to go check out. So that's perfect, perfect. So the next question has to do with a GovCon job. So this person applied to a GovCon job. She was asked to provide her social security number at the end of a very long application. The question is this: is there a way to finish an application like that without providing your social security number? She felt uncomfortable with giving that information.
Joe, I think you're our girl for that.
No one should ask you in the application process for your social security number. So I would actually find out who posted the job, or, you know, find out who who is responsible for the thing, and say, I have hit a major glitch in being able to apply online for this job. You know, could you please let me know, you know, here's my resume, you know, and my qualifications, let me know how I can be viable for this role. And if they ask you, you know, what the thing was, just say, well, it's requiring a social security number, which is not part of any, you know, any application process that I'm aware of. If you need to do a background check, you know, then that would be a separate conversation, but I wouldn't want to have one done prior to being actually interviewed for the job and being a viable candidate for the role.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great phrase.
Yeah.
All right, KiKi?
All right. What's the best way for people to connect with recruiters?
Well, it all depends on what you mean by a recruiter. So
Yeah.
first of all, let's just do the quick 101 of what's a recruiter, all right? So if there are different kinds of recruiters, you've got corporate recruiters. A corporate recruiter is somebody who works for a company and they only recruit for jobs in that company. You've got third-party recruiters. Third-party recruiters come in different shape, sizes, and colors too. Third-party recruiter, some people call us headhunters. Some people say permanent placement staffing. There's all kinds of terminology. But that person who might actually work for an agency works with multiple employers. And they're going to typically have some specialties, either a career vertical or an industry vertical. So if it's a career vertical, so someone like Michelle, who's on this call, she works for Justin Bradley, which is a search firm that places, well, they place all kinds of people now, but their core business had been for a very long time, and Michelle does this right now, is accounting and finance. So they have a career vertical. So she, you know, I'm guessing, correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle, might recruit for a staff accountant, might recruit for a CFO, and kind of anybody in between, right? Whereas then there are folks like myself who have industry verticals. So like I said, I recruit for associations, top to bottom, from CEOs down to managers, every, you know, from membership, for lobbying, meeting planning, whatever. So there's two kinds. And then there's the staffing agent, quote unquote, staffing agencies, which are not headhunters. That's temporary staffing. So when you see the term staffing agency, that specifically refers to a temporary organization. And also, by the way, third-party recruiters can also do contract placement too. In fact, I know Michelle's company, they do that as well. So they're placing people in contract roles. So that, first of all, you have to level set. And remember that when the corporate recruiter is recruiting, again, they're recruiting on behalf of their own company. So to the question earlier around, well, how do I, you know, have an informational interview with a recruiter? Joe gave that kind of response. She gave the response from the perspective of a corporate recruiter. She is one. Okay. Vern, who's on this call, used to be a corporate recruiter. He was actually head of HR. And so they're looking at things just from their narrow lens, whereas the third-party recruiters have a very broad perspective on the market. And the other thing too is they're also recruiting for employers, but it tends to be a little more transactional, meaning they're going to get job after job after job after job, and those jobs may or may not be right for you. We're representing the employer, they're not representing the candidate. So in answering that question around how do you network with recruiters or how do you even find them? So first of all, go to LinkedIn. It's gonna sound like a broken record there. Go to LinkedIn, and what you can do is you can type in the term recruiter. Now, do keep in mind that title keeps morphing. So in the world of HR, that there are other terms. So for example, talent acquisition is one of the more common modern ways that people call themselves in recruiting. And there are other kind of interesting titles, but recruiter, talent acquisition specialist, talent acquisition manager would be the types that you would find. And so if you're going to LinkedIn, into the search bar, type in those terms. Do a search for recruiter, do a search for talent acquisition, but then you're going to narrow it down. When you type in recruiter, hit enter, you're going to hit the people button, and all the recruiters in your LinkedIn network, first level, second level, and third level, will come up. You then go to the all filters tab and filter down by industry, if possible. That's one of the ways that you can start getting a sense of who's in your world. You could actually type in technical recruiter. Let's say you're looking for an IT job. You could put healthcare recruiter. Sometimes recruiters will actually put the name, like kind of attach their specialty with the title recruiter. In my world, and we typically say association search, because I do executive search, and that's kind of the phrase. So there are a lot of different phrases that you can use. And I hope I'm answering the question because I'm trying to remember exactly how it was phrased. But in terms of finding recruiters, that is one of the best ways to do it. But you got to remember what the role is of that recruiter.
All right. So this question is one that I think is a pretty popular one. And it's when an interviewer asks, tell me about yourself. How much should I tell the interviewer about my personal life, relocation, family, or do I go directly to the job qualifications?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Here's what they are asking you. They're asking you, why you, why now, why us?
Mm-hmm.
Why you, why now, why us? They are not looking for you to go back to the beginning of time when you flip burgers at Wendy's, right? That is irrelevant to them. They can see your resume. They can see your career progression. You want to catch them up really quickly right now. Basically, what's not on your resume that's going to indicate to them that you want this role, that this role is right for you right now? Your resume doesn't tell them that. Your resume tells them your past history. Your cover letter might indicate, hopefully indicates, why you're interested in the role, but they want to hear it from you. So the tell me about yourself question is the other way of saying, what's not on your resume that should convince me that you should be sitting here right now? I know you applied for the role, but give me a little bit more color. So you want to be really clear on your brand. You want to be clear on your superpowers. You want to be clear on why this opportunity is right for you now and the kinds of challenges that you're hoping to help them solve. So you can kind of do it, kind of lead right into it. And say, my background I've built my career in recent years around digital marketing, and that is one of my superpowers, and I'm really passionate about it because of X, Y, Z. And I noticed in this role, you would be asking me to fulfill these kinds of, or help overcome these kinds of challenges. That excites me because, and just keep it really short and tight, like a minute, maybe 2 minutes, but catch them right up to where you are, current day, why you, why now, why them. Vern, did you have another?
Yeah. So just think about this. Your resume is a two-dimensional document, and you are so much more than your resume. And so to Shira's point, what you'd be doing in that answer that Shira just gave is you're telling them who you are and what you're good at. And again, obviously linking it to their specific needs. And that's all you really, tell me a little bit about you. And that's what you really want to focus on. Because again, they're trying to weed you out, right? Sure.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm looking at the time here. I know we have other questions here, but there is one that I happened to catch early. And I think the question was, earlier I mentioned something about staying in it, that I was overcoming ageism question, and I was talking about staying in the job like long-term or committed. 3 to 5 years is typically what an employer is looking for these days. That's the kind of commitment they're expecting. That kind of helps them with their ROI, frankly, all the time and they're investing in you, and they really want to kind of, they want you to have been through enough of the life cycle of that role so that you can really contribute. So 3 to 5 years is kind of the target here. So I know there are other questions here. As I mentioned, you can certainly email me. What I'd like to do is jump into our next part of speed networking. So again, here's what I'd like you to do. Have 10 seconds, take out your phone, put your timer on, okay, 10 seconds, and we're gonna go over, and we have 48 people here, so this is a lot. So we're gonna go super fast, and I'd like you to state, say, hey, hi, I'm Mark. By the way, I'm gonna call people out. I'm gonna go my own Hollywood squares. I'll say, Mark, you start first. In fact, Mark, you are gonna start first, so just so you know. Mark O'Brien. Say who you are and say, this is the kind of role that I'm looking for. And you could either just say the role, or you can tack on your community, the industry, mission, or sector. Hi, I'm Mark. I'm in, I'm looking for a CFO role in the environmental nonprofit sector. Done. We're not doing backgrounds. We're not doing the whole story. Once you do that, if you would like, highly recommended, go into the chat box, type in your name, your email address, and restate what you just stated. Seeking accounting roles and environmental nonprofits, all right? And therefore people can follow up with you at the end. When we're all done, go back, I recommend this for everybody, go back to the chat box, okay? In fact, you can just look for this feature right now, for those who've never done it. Go to the 3 buttons on the right side, and it's gonna say Save Chat. And then you can just save it, it'll just save to your computer so that you can follow up with folks afterwards, okay? So, ready? We're gonna try this out, okay? So, Mark O'Brien, you are first. And make sure to unmute yourself. Everybody.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Mark O'Brien, I'm a registered nurse. I'm going through a life transition right now. I'm actually investigating a former profession. I was a minister for 12 years. I'm currently networking in the Washington area. Thank you.
Thanks. Kimberly Connolly.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Kimberly Connolly. My background is in CPG marketing, and I'm looking for a role in a large corporation doing events in the learning and development area.
Thank you. Perfect. Steve Perry.
Good morning. My name is Steve Perry. I'm looking for a senior sales. I'm a senior sales leader, and I'm looking for a position in the federal IT market.
Terrific. Thanks, Steve. Noreen.
Hi, my name is Noreen Hennigan, and I'm a returning to work mom. and my background is an HR person from Fidelity Investments and a former recruiter search person in New York City with the Fortune 100 companies, Fortune 1000 companies as my main area. And I'm opening my own company hopefully very soon.
Great.
Thanks.
All right, Seema.
Yes, good morning. My name is Seema, and I am seeking an opportunity in finance, operation, or management with associations or any government agency.
Perfect, thank you. And just to help us all out, for your own sake, you want to focus on what you're looking for. So like what Seema just said, I'm seeking opportunities in, and then we can think of the opportunities for you. Okay. Michelle O.
Hi, my name is Michelle Olson. I'm a database administrator, and I am seeking opportunities in the IT field, government, or corporate to continue database administration and do some business intelligence work as well.
Great, thanks. Ruth DeHart. You're on mute.
Hi, good morning. I'm Ruth. I am a change strategist, and I'm looking to specialize in the senior living world and around innovation and new developments in senior living, process consultant. That's the kind of role I'm looking for.
Thank you, Ruth. Sandra George.
Hi, I'm Sandra George. I'm looking for roles as talent acquisition manager or director.
Great, thank you. Laura Cohn.
Hi, I'm Laura Cohen. I'm seeking a federal, state, or consulting position with healthcare policy or strategy for special needs, dual eligible patients or people.
Thank you, Laura. Dia Kelly. Dia?
Oh, me, I'm sorry. My bad.
Oh, no, I apologize. I'm going Dia Stokes Kelly.
Are you asking for Dia Kelly?
Yeah, Dia Kelly. Yes, that's you.
Okay, yeah, that's me. I'm Dia Stokes Kelly. I am seeking a trade show and event planning specialist position in corporate America.
Thank you, Dia.
As
Sean?
of after July 31st.
Thank you. John?
Sean.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. Jean,
Jean.
I'm a finance and accounting professional. I'm looking for this advisory role, or will consider a CFO position also in a smaller company.
Great, thanks. And now we'll go to Sean Thorpe Cox.
Okay, my name is Sean, and I am seeking a position as a customer service specialist. It doesn't matter what industry.
Thank you, Sean. Betsy Anderson?
Hi, I'm Betsy Anderson, and I'm seeking an opportunity where I can parlay my FDA experience and trade association expertise either in the nonprofit world or the federal government.
Thank you, Betsy. Ty Smith?
Hi, I'm Ty Smith. I'm seeking a position in pension administration or customer service in the government, association, or financial worlds.
Thanks. Joan, it says Joan SA staff. Joan, do you want to unmute yourself?
There. I volunteered at the Smithsonian Associates, and that's how our title is, and we use Zoom too. I think after today I'm going to add Rademacher. For the last 6 years, I'm a CPA, and for the last 6 years, I've worked as a lead budget analyst for a federal agency as a contractor. The contract is ending, and I would like to find another one. And what I want, if I can find it, is government contracting or private, but I want remote. It's wonderful. Not commuting's given me 20 hours a week of my life back. So I would like to do it. And the thing they like about me is I have a bunch of innovative solutions to problems that are simple to use that non-accountants will understand.
Thank you, Joan. I appreciate that. Janet, did you say that, did you text and say that you can't, your audio isn't working, or sorry, your video isn't working?
Lisa Edelkind Mobile. Lisa Edelkind Mobile.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and mute her. Kelly Nugent.
Morning, everyone. My name is Kelly Nugent. I was in the IT telecom world for 20 plus years. I pivoted last year, went into physical security, so I had access control and security cameras, and got laid off with COVID. So I'm either going to get back into telecom IT or physical security, or looking for a good quality business development role or account executive role position for any companies, good quality companies. I'm not looking for a straight commission job. And I'll put my information in the chat. Thanks.
All right, and make sure we want to make sure we're going to keep the focus on your aspiration. That'll help us go real fast. Thanks so much.
All right, sorry.
That's okay. Charles Saunders.
Hi, I'm Charles Saunders. I'm looking for in the field of administration and either the private sector or government.
Great, thank you. Ali Abrashami.
Everyone, Ali Abrashami, Strategic International HR Executive, looking for HR business partner and leadership roles. Sector doesn't matter.
Great, thank you. Beth Knight.
Thank you, Shira. I am looking for a CEO, executive director position in the association or nonprofit world.
Great, thank you, Beth. Let's go to John Wilson.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name's John Wilson. I've had a military career, and I'm looking to do information technology, data analysis, using Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, or other applications.
Great, thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you. Monica McGuire.
Hi, I'm Monica McGuire, and I'm looking for a position, an advocacy or lobbying position in the nonprofit, or more particularly the association world, or alternatively, going back to Capitol Hill to work either in the U.S. Senate or U.S. House. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Sonia Lee.
Okay, sorry about that. Hi, my name is Sonia Lee. I'm a human resource executive looking for HR leadership role in the for-profit world, preferably. And I also have over 20 years of GovCon experience.
Thank you, Sonia. Paul Haggerty.
Thanks, Shira. My name is Paul Haggerty, and I'm seeking a human resources director / strategist position in the Dallas market. Thank you.
Thanks. Carolyn Hurley.
Hi all, I'm Caroline Hurley and I'm a government relations lawyer lobbyist. My superpower is tax and I've primarily represented the high-tech industry and I'd like to do the same.
Bonnie Fetchuk.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Fetchuk and I'm looking for a CEO position in the nonprofit industry.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Yeah, I'm also a certified mediator, so I'd love to do something in conflict resolution.
Terrific. Thanks. Linda Gross. You're on mute.
Oh, sorry about that. My name is Linda Gross, and what I'm looking for is primarily something in the nonprofit sector that could combine something along the lines of customer service, data entry, and other administrative matters. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Jen Eberhardt.
Hi, everybody. I'm a job service specialist for the state of Maryland, and I'm in career discernment for next year to just see where God's leading me. I'd like to work for a Christian organization. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Jeffrey Wiseman.
Hi, good morning. I'm Jeffrey. I'm in the Richmond, Virginia area, licensed architect looking for construction administration or project management in a medium or large size firm. I'm a natural relationship builder, mentor, and leader.
Great, thanks so much. Let's go to Kimberly Bluen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Bluen, and I'm an IT problem-solving support leader in the Raleigh, North Carolina area, looking for something in the payments or financial industry, preferably remote.
Great, thanks. Hillary? You're on mute.
Hi, I'm Hillary, and I'm seeking an opportunity in communications, publishing, or program management in the association space.
Thanks. Deborah Shelby.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm looking for my next opportunity, either an executive assistant or doing project coordinations to work with teams to get things done for a senior leader.
Thanks, Deborah. Mike?
Good morning. I'm Mike. I'm in the data protection, privacy, and ethics space, currently targeting technology companies like Facebook, Amazon, and Google, but also considering the government market.
Thanks, Mike. Shoshi?
Hi, everyone. I'm not seeking for a job right now. I'm EVP in a high-tech company in the telecommunication industry, and I actually joined the call today just to share that I'm conducting an unpublished search for a program manager role. So I didn't hear a lot of people on the call from that industry, but if you're interested or know anyone, please feel free to reach out to me. And I'll post again my LinkedIn.
And that, my friends, is the hidden job market in action. Glad you're on this call, right? Okay, Lena Aurora.
Hi, I'm Lena. I'm in the Columbia, Maryland area. I'm an IT professional, and I am looking for a job as a business analyst in pretty much any industry.
Thanks, Alina. Elena Shupina.
Yes, thank you, Shira. My name is Elena Shipina, and I am a commercial banker who is passionate about innovation and technology. And I am looking for an opportunity in financial services, financial technology industry with focus on product development and implementation. Thank you.
Mary? Mary, do you hear us? Or I think you're on mute. Okay, we can come back to Mary. Martha Nagash.
Hi, I'm Martha Nagash. I am an HR professional. I'm looking for HR business partner / manager role in any industry. Thank you.
And Rohini?
Hi, I'm Rohini Parikh. I'm based in New York City. I'm a Columbia University alumna. I have returned to study for my PhD in English education. I'm applying for full-time and part-time English lecturer positions in New York City, as well as accredited online universities. Thank you. Great to see you, Shira.
Thanks. Good to see you too. Okay, I think I've hit everyone. I might have missed someone. If I've missed you, could you go ahead and just unmute yourself? Okay, wow. Hollywood Squares, woo! I think it worked. All right, yay. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to alternate, okay? So this was pretty successful this week. Next week, we'll go back to the traditional breakout sessions where you'll be in groups of, let's say, 5 or 6, as a lot of you have experienced, and you can have a more intimate situation and kind of share those leads. And then the alternating week, we'll go back to this, okay? So everybody will have a chance to do some intimate and then some quick speed networking. All right, so with that, I want to go ahead and just kind of wrap up here. So we want to remind you of how to get in touch with us. So if you are interested in getting in touch with any one of us, any one of the experts, feel free to take a picture of this. I'll go quiet for 5 seconds while you take a picture. All right. Here are some free job support groups that happen to be in the local area, but again, everything's Zoomified, so this just happens to be what the groups that I know of. They're all free. They meet usually on a weekly basis. The only one that's not free is Career Gateway. They offer a Career Gateway program, which is a week long and it costs $75, but all of these are fantastic job search resources. I do have a newsletter that I started several weeks ago. If you are not on it and you would like to be, feel free to email me. I always
Can you go back to that one slide, the job, the other one?
Yep.
Yep, thanks. Okay, thanks.
Sure. I do like to end with an inspirational quote from the Bible, and this one is, "Hope in the Lord, for with the Lord there is unfailing love. His redemption overflows," and that's from Psalm 130. And along those lines, I have, for the last few weeks now, opened up a prayer session at the end of this call. So once we conclude the official session, for those of you who would like to stay on with me, I will be leading the group in a prayer meeting. Okay? And we have already done speed networking. So that, my friends, is where we are at. So if hopefully that was all helpful for you, please, again, feel free to stay in touch. Make sure to save the chat to get everybody's information. And please, please follow up with those of you who have leads for the people on this call, because you never know who knows, right? Individuals. So go ahead and follow up with each other. So that concludes the official part of our Hiring Moment Mastermind. And
Shira, would you say how to save the chat again?
Absolutely. If you hit the chat box and you go to the bottom right-hand corner, there are 3 little dots. Click on the 3 little dots and it'll say Save Chat. Okay. Oh, by the way, I did want to let you guys know, so a couple of weeks ago, I had mentioned that there was a technology glitch and I wasn't able to capture the Zoom for February 26th. I was able to figure it out. So it is that back, yay, it was on my website. That's the one where I did the little resume review. So for those of you who are interested in that, go back to the, where it says today's recording in the chat. Again, that's where I put all of the recordings for all of the meetings. All right, so you can access it there. And with that, wish everybody a blessed day. And those who want to stay on for the prayer call, you're certainly welcome to do so. All right, have a blessed day, everyone.
Shira, could you put up the one slide with the speakers' contacts?
Sure.
I was slow on the picture taking.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so let me just go ahead and